Okay, well, welcome everyone for those that are new. My name is Anita Thompson. I own Art Venture Workshops. I am a mobile-based art business of one, me, and I guess my husband, he kind of helps. Um, so basically, we are going to be drawing this evening using 8.5 by 11 paper. I'm basically just using printer paper. I'm kind of readjusting my camera here, and a pencil with an eraser, and then also a black sort of a felt tip pen. Um, not too thick. It's not too thin. Mine is actually, I think it was like 38 millimeters. But it doesn't matter as much because, we're not using any watercolor on this, so it doesn't even have to be, um, you know, water resistant. But so this is it sort of up close. We're going to start off first with our pencil. But I also wanted to just real quickly give you a little history on the quill pen because I thought that was pretty neat. So they were the primary writing instrument in the Western world from the 6th to the 19th century. They said the best quills were usually made from goose, swan, and later turkey feathers. Quills went into decline after the invention of the metal pen. Mass production beginning in Great Britain as early as 1822. And these were very popular during the medieval period because they used vellum to write on. So it was very compatible with parchment and vellum. And I think I read somewhere that the where was it? I can't remember what my thought process was. Much later in the 1600s, with the increased popularity of writing, especially with the copperplate script, that's when quills became more pointed and flexible. Because it said originally they used bamboo, and then when the feathers came out, those were much more flexible, but they always needed to use ink to dip them in. There is a reflection on the bottle, Michael. Yes. So I'm going to show this up close. Yeah. So if you want to take a picture, you can. I'll keep it still. I'll stop moving. Oh, let's see. June said, you also learned that the papercraft quilling is named that because they use the quill pens to wrap the paper around. That is so neat. I love that. Yeah, I just thought all that little history was really interesting. So, we can get started. So, we're going to use our pencil first, obviously, and then we'll go over it in our pen. So, I am just going to adjust one more time so that you can see my other paper here. So, I'm going to just move this over a little bit. As you can see, we are using it in portrait mode, not landscape mode, so that we get a nice long area. And we are going to get started. So I'm going to move this over. So you want to kind of start in the middle of your paper. You do want to make sure that you've got enough room since your quill is going to be, leaning toward the left. You want to make sure that you've got enough room for that. And we're going to start off with the bottle, the ink bottle here. Yeah, it's interesting because, I did not, hold on. I don't think I pressed record. No, I did. I did press record. For a minute, I thought, oh my gosh, did I do that? I couldn't remember. Well, that's good. I remembered that part. What I was going to say is I think it's rather interesting. I now want to try one, since I never have. It must be really interesting to use one, as I'm so used to, and all of us are so used to using a pen. So we're going to come down with the bottle. And you're going to be drawing lightly. I'm going to go in really close so that you are able to see what I'm doing here. And we're going to start off with an oval for the top part of the bottle here. Right? So we've got that. And we're going to do the shape first. And then obviously we'll go back and do the details. So the shape kind of goes in, and then our bottle is going to kind of balloon out on each side. Like so. You want to try and get it as even as possible. What you do on the left side, you also do on the right side. And then you're going to kind of go flat for the bottom. And this is where you can kind of take a look at your bottle and, fix it. Kind of curves at this point here, and then starts to balloon out. So we curve. I'm going to make this just a little wider. And same with the other side. And then you're also going to, go to the bottom, and you're going to add sort of the part that it's kind of standing up on. And it's flatter at the bottom. And then the two sides are slightly bent. They're not straight lines. So again, we kind of go flat for the bottom part. And then we curve outward for each one. I'm going to make this just a little bit darker because I can see on Zoom that it's a little light. Now, once you have that top part of your bottle, actually, I'm just going to make this a little bit flatter here. Okay. I keep looking at it and going, oh, I don't know if that's equal to the other side yet. I tend to do that when I'm using pen. I'm not even using the pen yet, but anyway, we've got some cylinders happening here. We've got the top cylinder part. We're now going to add another cylinder, and this is why, we make everything very light when we use the pencil. So we add another cylinder, and the sides are bubbling out like so. We add a third one. Like so. And then, you're going to have to do some erasing to get that shape. But you should now have something like this. And I'll just double check on everybody in my gallery view to make sure I'm not going too fast. And this is the time you want to double check your left and your right side. Obviously we haven't started with the ink yet, so you're still good. I feel like it's so permanent once we do the ink. Okay, so now that we have that, we're now going to make another cylinder. This is for the actual ink area. So we're looking here to the left. We have another cylinder because of the way the ink is sitting in the bottle. We're also going to notice here that our ink doesn't run to the edge of our bottle, right? Because this is glass. So when we create that cylinder, we're also going to be creating the whole ink area. So you might want to kind of create around it first, sort of like an oval. So we're going to start up here at the top. And again, you want it to be light, but I'm making it darker so you can see. We're going to curve, basically making a, like I mentioned, sort of an ovalish shape all around the bottle. Making sure to leave space between drawing the ink area and the glass bottle. I like to get pretty close to the edge on, either side of the bottle. So I'm just going to expand my oval here on this side, especially going toward the bottom of the bottle. And it's not a true oval because it's kind of squared off or flattened at the bottom. Just take note of that. So right here, it's a little flatter because of the shape of the bottle. So it should look a little something like that. And then, oops, you want to make your oval at the top. So we want to leave room. Oops, just double check. Oh, I got Patty coming in. So you're going to leave some room. Hi, Patty. Welcome. I'm so happy you could join us. We're recording. Hi. So anything that you missed, you can get later, but we're basically doing the drawing of the inkwell first in pencil. Everything's in pencil first. Oh, no worries. Happy you could join us. So this is about what that part will look like. And we'll go back and add the reflections, but we now want to start adding the actual pen. So we're going to start off, and actually we're going to add the pen first. But I think before that, let's add the inside, one more oval of the top part of your inkwell here. So it's going to kind of look like this. Let me make this a little bigger. And I'm going to zoom in. So this is the part I'm talking about. You're going to kind of make the opening. And I'm going to make mine just a little bit wider here. And then you're going to start to create the feather, starting first at the left side. Oops, going upward. Sorry about that. I have to move up my camera now. So it's going to be leaning. And you're going to take that right down into your liquid, like so. Now, if you have to use a ruler or another piece of paper to kind of get that part straight, feel free to do that. The inside of that feather comes to a point and then comes back down. And again, it's going to come down into the top part of the bottle. And then you can erase the lines over here. Oh, I have somebody else coming in. Welcome. We're recording, so anything that you missed, it's being recorded, but welcome. We're doing the pencil part on 8.5 by 11 paper. I just realized I have to make this just a little bit straighter. Okay. But as I was saying, you want to erase the line for the feather because in front of it is the actual top part of the ink bottle. So to make the feather sitting inside the ink bottle, you erase those lines and have the lines for the ink bottle in front. So you kind of have to also adjust the top part here of the cylinder, right? Because now it looks like a stick, but it looks like it's in there. And then you also want to make sure to erase the line of the ink. And then you're going to add a curved line at the bottom of the ink. And so you're going to have something like this. And we can draw the feathers if you like, but I tend to like to do those with pen. But I am going to show you if you want to kind of do it first with the pencil. We can do that. So, because it is sometimes nice to plan that out. Sorry, I'm just fixing this one right side that's bothering me. I feel like it's getting warped and I haven't quite figured out how to unwarp it. There we go. Okay. So let's go up to the feathers. So if we take a look here, we've got some separation of the feathers because that's what feathers do. And so maybe I want to kind of look at this as a block of the design. So what I mean by that is here is maybe one block of feather. Here's another block. And then the shape. So basically I'm kind of drawing the shape of the feathers, the overall shape, so that when I do complete those individual lines, I kind of stick within that shape. So I'm going to curve this. And then I've got one down here as well. So again, what I just did was I just drew the shape, the overall shape of how I want those feathers to kind of play out. It doesn't mean that I can't go and, do something a little differently, but this kind of gives me a guide to do that. I'm going to make this go up a little bit higher because I realize I kind of went down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now we want to draw in the reflections. So we're going to come down here and we're going to come over to the left. We have a reflection here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, and I'm going to make this dark so that you can see. going to draw the white part, so the highlight. That's the highlight. So that is where you will not be using your pen. You might use it to go across, but for now, it's going to go like that. And then there's another reflection. Again, this is kind of the white part of the paper. And it kind of looks like a curved triangle. Like so, with leaving the top open. And we have two more, actually three more kind of reflections, including the top part of the liquid. So what I'll do up here, when we come up here, we're going to make kind of a line to indicate that we stop with using the pen. We're now going to come down here and let's kind of make a curved line that goes inward as it gets toward the bottom of the inkwell. So curve that line. And then we're going to create, again, the highlights. So here's one. And then we have one down here. And I'm going to wait for you. I just wanted to kind of draw these in so that you could see. So something to the effect of that. And then you just want to take a look at your overall drawing. And this is going to be the basis of how we add our ink for the most part. You know, you can still add some things to, you know, as you're doing it, but it really helps to have an outline. So the first thing we're going to be starting with is going to be our inkwell. But you want to take a look, clean up any lines that you want, fix anything that you want. I'm just going to fix this part over here. And we're going to get started with our ink. So we go lighter first, and then we start to layer. You know, it kind of reminds me of watercolor in a way because it's layered. You know, you start off light in watercolor, and I feel like you do the same with ink. So, but first we're going to start off with outlining our inkwell. So let's do that. And I'm going to go in a little closer now that we are at that stage. Oops. Fix that. There we go. Okay. So we're going to first start off with sort of the bottle part of this. And we're going to remember that there is, you know, a feather going through it. So let me see if the lighting is better that way. Yep. Okay. So we're going to leave that blank. And actually, what we can do right now is also, let's fill that out right now too, or let's outline that. And you're just going to go carefully down. Down to the base of it. And then the other side. It's our first step. And then we're going to start with the top part of the bottle. So what we're doing now is we're going to be outlining. We're going to outline the top of the bottle, the other two parts of it, and then the entire bottle. So let's do that. Okay, there's the top of the bottle. Now take your time. You have to stop and start up again. That's fine. Also outline the bottom part of the bottle, the base. And then we're also going to be outlining the ink. So outlining around it first. And then also adding the oval part at the top, like so. So again, we just outlined around, did the oval part. And now we're going to start shading. So the inside of this is, there are some variations. So think of it similar to how you're using pencil, right? There are gradients of, there's a light tone, a medium tone, and a dark tone. And it's the same with ink, but instead we sometimes either color it in, or to make it a little less dark, we use hatching or cross hatching. If you have another piece of paper, and I know we've, those that have taken my classes before, we've practiced doing that cross hatching and hatching. This is hatching, and then crossing is going the other way, and then even, sometimes adding on. And basically I'm layering to make it darker. And if I want to make it real dark in a section, I just start to kind of go on top of that one section to make it darker. But because of this, it's almost like, in a sense, when you use pencil and, you make one part dark, one part lighter, and you get progressively lighter. So you can even do something like that too. So if you need to, practice on something, you can do that now. you know, just to practice your lines, but we're going to get started with the inside of the bottle. And basically, the reason I showed that to you quickly is because I'm just going to show this up close. So inside of the bottle, it's the darkest here and here, but right here, closer to the feather, I leave that the light of the paper for a minute, and then I go back and add some kind of what I call scratching. So let's do that. All right, so we're going inside. And again, I'm going to go really close so that you can see. So we're going to go here to the left of the oval, and we're going to fill it in. We're going to go around, fill it in a little bit. And then we're going to add some light lines in the white space. So like that. I'm going to even this out a little bit. And then I want to make it a little bit thicker of a line around here. So I'm going to double up my line, go over it again with my pen to the left. I'm going to do that to the second part, make it thicker. And then this is where we're going to start using our lines. So we're going to start first with lines that are coming from the right side, going across that space. But you can see I'm leaving some white of the paper. We'll come back there, but then we're also going to then come to the bottom part here. And I'm making kind of this area that I've drawn out, because then around it, I'm going to color that in black. Then we're going to go back up and make it a little darker underneath. And then we're going to create some very light lines in that space that are right next to each other. So do you see that? I'm just going to make that. And the space above, we're going to do the same thing, but we already have lines there. But we're going to do the same thing except curve our lines down. And then, because we want it to be a little bit darker, we can now start to shade on the right side by going over our marks. Like so. And that's kind of how we shade. I like to add just a little bit of, maybe a little mark here. We are actually going to start to go in the liquid area. And that's also going to be very similar to what we just did, but layering. So I'm going to show this up close because I want to point out, again, just like a drawing, here are the darkest. This is the darkest part here and here. So we really concentrate our pen there. This is kind of a medium dark, and then this is a lighter dark. And the way we get that is we make all those scratchy lines, we keep going, but then we really start to color in with our black where the darkest parts are. So let's start to do that. We're going to start in the liquid at the top. We're going to first come to the left here, and we're going to color it in going left to right and kind of outlining this shape. We're going to outline this shape here. And then we're going to start making it dark going against this part by keeping, in the same spot. We're going to go around. So keep doing that. I'm just going to grab another pen. I think my pen is starting to kind of run low. Excuse me. Okay, we're good. I got a new one. All right. So continuing on here, we're going around. Oh yeah, that's much better. So we're outlining the top part of the pool of ink. And now we're also going to outline right where it's falling into the liquid, where the feather is falling into the liquid. And now we're going to start hatching, which means we can make lines first, going straight across. And then you're going to start making them going the opposite direction. Like so. Now again, our next step is looking to see where we want our real darks. And we're going to keep building up that color. So I'm going to cross hatch again toward the edge, or around, I should say, kind of around the ink area. So what I'm doing now is I'm laying in my darkest areas. You can go in the opposite direction. Basically, wherever your pen starts to go and you start to fill it in, that's your darkest. So if I want it lighter, I crosshatch because I'm still filling in with shading, but if I want it really light, you don't fill that in at all. But this is very dark because it's ink, right? So I'm cross-hatching now to fill up the space. And you can stop and, when you're cross-hatching, you can do short strokes. It doesn't have to be these long, bold strokes. So I'm looking at that and I still want to add some dark. So now I'm going to start coloring in with the pen the parts that I want the darkest. And those are, again, right where we started to draw the cylinder. Like so. So you can still see that there's some white of the paper around some of it. And now we're going to continue into the liquid. We're going to come back and do these top parts and the lighter parts, but I feel like it's kind of easier to do some of the darker parts. So we're going to now come over to this section and we're going to fill it in with dark, but not totally the blackest part yet. And I'm going in a curved way up and down with my lines. Like so. We're going to do the same now across, except we're going to remember that this line here, you can go over that line with your pen, and you're going to remember that there's a white space there. So now we're going to start going from left to right, also making sure that we don't fill in this white part. And we're going to go in short strokes at first. And then I like to go in another section of short strokes. Basically, we're going to go short strokes going from left to right, but remembering that the parts that we drew that are the white part of the paper, you go around those. We're going to come over here and fill in this area, going with the strokes like this, kind of curving. And then obviously we're going to be filling that in. So it looks kind of messy, but that's how we start. And your drawing should look a little something like this right now, as we continue to now start to layer the strokes. So we're going to come back over here to the left where the ink is. We're also going to extend another curved line of the ink. So I'm pointing to that I just added. And then we're going to start to fill this in darker. I'm going to make mine just a little bit closer to the glass. And then you're going to start to color in the edge of that black. But if you can still see that I have some lines that are not colored in with the black. But I'm also going to come down to the bottom here and start to make it very dark. So making it very dark and continuing now on the right side to kind of fill in the very dark part of it, now going to toward the right side. And I'm also going to make my ink thicker, or ink area thicker, I should say, closer to the bottle, the glass part. And now we're kind of filling this in. I still like to have the white of the paper showing in some parts. So I'm not going, if you notice, I'm not I'm not filling it in by coloring it in completely yet. And I'm also going to start moving a little towards the middle of the bottle with my strokes. Then making it the darkest toward the edge of the bottle. Being very careful as I'm now outlining the outer edge of that ink area. Again, you can now start to crosshatch by going in the opposite direction of the shape that you just created, making your lines stick out a bit from the dark area of the ink. Just want to make sure everybody's caught up. And then we're going to come into these 3 sections that I'm kind of pointing with my pen, and we're going to cross hatch those to make them darker. So here's the one section. Next section. And the next. So what I did was I just slanted my lines, and then we're going to make straight lines on these 2 areas. I'm kind of bouncing my pen back and forth and kind of show you. So remember this area and this area, we're now going to make curved lines going up and down. On both sections. And then we're going to start to tie in those areas together with more hatching and some darker spots. You know, right now it looks kind of, you know, not together, but we want to make it a little darker up here by filling in a little more of the liquid. So I'm going to go across and start to kind of color in almost like a line, black, but not an even line. And then start to go, continue those curves in the white area, but now there's some curved lines here. So this was the white part of the paper, and we're now filling it in with light lines going across so that it's not as dark anymore. We're going to do the same in this area. We're going to now start to kind of join and add some kind of curved lines across the top here. And then we're going to go in this section where the white of the paper is. And we're also going to make some very light lines. And we're going to do the same in the other white section of the paper here. And then we're finally going to start to darken this up. So again, we kind of went across. We can now do some more cross hatching. That means going the opposite direction in the sections that are a little darker. And we're going to also start bringing some of the dark ink, kind of coloring it in a little bit now. Thanks, June. I can't wait for you to send it to me. June's amazing at pen and ink. So we're now kind of darkening up the areas, but we have a variation of lines. That are happening. You can choose to make some sections a little darker. You just don't want to cover everything in, using your black ink, but you can keep cross hatching to fill up the area a little bit. And if you kind of lean away from your drawing, it looks like it's shading, which is what we're trying to accomplish. We also want to remember, to extend some lines toward our bottle here. We didn't extend these two lines. And then afterward, you can make some really light lines as shading on top. So I'm pointing to where I just did those lines. I first extended these lines and then I went across with some light lines. And I'm going to do the same on the outside of the feather here to the left of it. And then we want to go around the bottle on the right and just make some very light lines to indicate some shading in the glass section of the bottle. And I like to add maybe a little bit of sort of a little line there. And we're then going to go toward the bottom here and kind of bring some of the black ink into the white part of the glass by creating just some sketchy lines. And the same with the part that is holding up the bottle, like this kind of flat section. We do the same thing again to indicate that there's some light. We make kind of scratchy lines, and I like to kind of re-outline my bottle again to make the black a little thicker. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, re-outline my bottle shape. And make some light lines in between the white part too. Very light, faint kind of lines to look like shading. And then we're finally going to get into the middle part of the feather. And so we kind of treat the feather in the same way. I'm going to kind of show the original here. So we have the middle where it's the darkest, it's outlined dark, right? And then with our shading, we've got dark shading up here. And then along the right side, to make it look like has volume, we add shading down the right side by going straight with our strokes first and then cross hatching on the right side. So let's start doing that. We'll break that down and start to do that. So let me just move my camera up once. So again, we're going to outline again. Oops. The inside of our feather. The top part that's sticking out, not in the liquid yet. And you can go down into the part that's in the liquid. We're then going to come up to the top and we're going to make straight lines, straight light lines down the right side of kind of the feather stick. And now it's going to look like, it's darker on that side. We're then going to make some slanted curved lines in the white part all the way down. We're also going to go into the part that's going into the ink. We're going to come back and cross hatch starting at the top because the top part is darker. Then we cross hatch on the left side, meaning we go in the opposite direction with our strokes. What that's going to do is you're making the edge of that line a little bit darker. You can even go back and take your pen and make the strokes a little darker by going up and down. And then we're going to start with our feathers. So, again, we've already drawn sort of the design of where we want those feathers to end. So we can start, I like to start on the left side, and I kind of start and go up, and I continue the lines, like I hold on to the pen. Like so. And you can make some of the lines a little shorter, curving them. We're going to go back and make some single lines too, but basically, so curving in that shape. You can go a little bit outside of that shape too. This just kind of helps you. That. And then we're going to do the same on the opposite side. So you can see there's a curve to the way I'm creating shape. It's almost like a leaf. that's kind of curving, and they're all very close to each other. And when you're done, I like to go back and do some hatching, kind of where the feathers come from. I just kind of add some light hatching at the start of those. So you can even go and make some individual feathers using one stroke of your pen. And then, just take a look at your inkwell. If you need to make anything a little darker, you can do that. But other than that, that is our vintage inkwell drawing. And I'm going to remove my spotlight. And I'm going to stop the recording.